Okay, looks like we're streaming now, finally. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Check, check. Okay. Hello, Peggy. I see your note there to me. Welcome. Hope you can hear me okay. I'm going to wait a few more minutes to start my cameras here and get going. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay. Lights, camera. Okay, camera's running. Okay. Make sure everything's running here. All my cameras. Microphone on. Bushcraft on fire. I see your note. Welcome. I'll get going here in just a second. Had a little trouble getting my streaming to work today for some reason. I don't know why. This thing is strange. Okay, by my clock, I think it's 1 o'clock. Good morning from California, Miriam. Okay. All right. Let's get going. Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm Larry Hamilton. Glad you're with me, and we're going to have a fun day today, I think, doing a watercolor. I used one of my photographs that I've purchased from Johannes Floathouse again, and I picked this photo primarily because it has some interesting fog going on here. Like it's really like a cool morning, and the fog's rising off of the water and back in the distance, and it's kind of a pretty basic photo, I want to say, but we'll see if we can spruce it up a little bit, add a few things. I'm going to put some mountains in the background. If you notice the photo, I just had the grid up here for the last 10 minutes or so, and that's what we're going to paint. This is the grid that I had up. There it is. If you notice, you remember my talks before about the areas of the painting that are sort of bland and nondescript. This whole top row of squares on this grid, there's really nothing much going on there. It's all just sort of a gray color, and I want to see if we can fix that. I'm going to put a few mountains in the middle. I'll do something in the sky, maybe on the left side here, to add something in each of those squares. When I run my viewfinder over this entire photo, I have something going on in every square, with the exception of the top 5 squares. And I could have cut this down probably and whacked off that entire sky, but I decided to leave it in and try to put some interesting stuff there. So with that said, I'll show you my value map. Here it is. And if you notice, these value maps tend to look a little bit like puzzle pieces. They're sort of interlocking shapes. I could have done more shape building in here with the values, but I thought this was enough to sort of give the picture of what we're trying to do, and to try to keep the values into three or four value ranges. And so that's our value map. And if you want to take a quick look at the sketch, it's pretty simple. It's a little bit light. I did it in pencil, and I erased parts of it to kind of get rid of some of the grid lines. But that's the sketch that we'll be working from, and when I get the final video edited and on my website, I'll have a copy of this out on my website along with the link to the video. So I think with that said, I don't want to spend a lot more time on this. I just want to get over there and start painting. So let's get over to the easel. You can see my easel there with the photograph with the grid on it on the top left, and the value map on the top right. That's usually how I have my painting set up on my easel. So let's get over here and get going. So thank you again for watching and tuning in. Hope this will be a fun painting. We're painting today on 16 by 20 Fabriano Artistico cold press watercolor paper, 300 pound, which is my usual weight, is 300 pound. And size varies, sometimes 16 by 20, sometimes I use a half sheet, 22 by 15. Many of my paintings are 11 by 14. So anyway, this is going to be 16 by 20. So because the painting or the photo has a lot of blank areas in it, this makes it even a little more challenging to try to make sure we fill those areas. If you look here at the, where's my viewfinder? Here it is. If we look here at this sketch I have up, I was telling you before that areas that have nothing going on. We've got big areas up here at the top with really nothing going on. So it's going to be, the challenge is to try to put something nice in that sky. Here's my mountains. I added a couple of mountains here in the background. I'll try to maybe put a little snow on those. The photograph actually started here and went down. So the rest of this, if you kind of see there's something going on. So that'll be pretty good for the rest of the painting, but I want to make sure that we put something in the sky. So before I start, I want to, I did a little test. Most of the paintings I do, this is the first time I'm ever doing them, and I haven't really practiced this at all. I did try a couple of things to see if I could get some of this color that's in this foggy areas here. I ran a couple of tests to just see how dark I wanted to make that. I really have it show it very light, almost white on the value map, but I'll show you how I did that, and we'll put that in as we get this part of the get to that part of the painting. But I did practice a little bit on you there for one thing. So let's go over to the palette now, and I'll tell you my usual brushes here, same as normal. I have my Sterling Edwards brush set, which consists of these 3 bristle brushes, large, medium, and small. I don't know if I'll use all those. I know I'll use them to put clear water on the painting for sure. I have number 1 flat, or 1 inch flat, half inch flat. I have a number 12 round, a number 8 round, a number 4 round, and then I have a number 6 script liner. These are all a Sterling Edwards brush set. You don't have to use these brushes, but it's kind of the ones I've evolved to with some of my watercolors. And I also use the paints that he recommends, which I highly recommend. My Mary Blue watercolor paintings, watercolors. They're from Italy, very transparent. Let me go around the palette here quickly and list them off again for you. Neutral tint, primary blue cyan, ultramarine blue, ultramarine violet, crimson lake, primary red magenta, cadmium red, burnt sienna, raw sienna, yellow ochre, cupric green, sap green, limon yellow, primary yellow, burnt umber, still to grain brown, Auvergne orange. So that's the paints. I do have some black over here. I have a little bit of lamp black and a little bit of titanium white. Both are usable on transparent watercolor paintings. There's some people who paint transparent watercolors will never use a white on it, but I think Grumbacher has come up with a transparent white that is usable now on transparent watercolor paintings, and it passes the tests to enter these paintings into a show or into a competition of some sort without getting in trouble about not being transparent. Okay, let's go back here. Let me put my palette on, and I'm going to zoom in and get this thing lined up here. I'm going to have to raise it up a little bit. Up, not down. Okay, I have some nice controls here from next to my video switcher, so I can actually do this here. Okay, so now I think you can see that. I keep the palette at the lower right. Before I start, I want to go back and I'm going to erase some of this graphite on here. I don't want to have all this this much graphite on here. It's just going to mix with the paint. This is I used an HB pencil that is very dark, a 6B, so I put a lot of graphite on when I did this sketch. As opposed to sometimes I use the transfer paper and transfer it over. The pencil definitely will not interfere as much. It comes off a lot easier as well. You can see I'm not really having to do a lot of hard erasing here with this kneaded eraser. I just want to have enough that I can see it. You won't be able to see it very well because of just the way the video camera picks up. But I'll know where these things are, and hopefully we can do it justice today. The water in this photograph, if you notice, is really just pure white. I mean, it's as white as that fog coming off of the water. So we might want to put a little color in it, but basically if I paint around the stream enough properly and do it right, you shouldn't even, you should see the water even though I don't paint the water. Get these little grid lines out of here. Okay, so that's enough to work from. I'm sure you can't have lost the, I'm sure you've lost the painting itself, or the sketch, pretty much. So I'm going to start with some clear water up here, get my medium brush, and just get some clear water going on this thing. Soak the paper before I start putting the sky in. The sky in this is also just a bland gray in the photograph, and has really no redeeming value as far as the photograph goes. So this is where a bit of our artist artistic license will come to play, and we'll use that to hopefully improve on the photograph a little bit. I'm just going to go ahead and put some water down this whole thing and get a little more softness in this paper. And you hear this bristle brush on this 300-pound paper. It sounds like I'm scrubbing something, and it is. It's really scrubbing over the paper, and hopefully soaking in really nicely. And I need to talk and let that soak in just a little bit. So this is another photograph out of the 700 photographs that I purchased, and basically have used quite a few of the photos I purchased to do different paintings. And sometimes I modify them significantly, sometimes I don't. This particular one didn't need much modification at all. It was pretty well set, but other than having this sky that's a little bit too plain. So I'm going to get myself some ultra blue out here on the palette and pick up a little bit of my burnt sienna over here. These two colors, when I mix the burnt sienna with the blue, ultra blue, you may have noticed in other paintings I've done, they'll start giving a gray when I start mixing them together here. So the orangeness in this burnt sienna mixing with the blue gives several shades of gray. And it can be a blue gray, it can be a sort of an orangey gray. All depends on how much blue I mix together. If at 50-50, it's about a middle gray. So let's see, I'm going to start taking a little bit of this paint and just sort of touch in some things here that look like I might be able to get some clouds out of this deal. I'm going to have some snow up here on top of this mountain, so I don't want to get down in that. I like to add a little bit of alizarin, or crimson lake here it's called, primary blue colors, around the top of these mountains here. We'll just take just come in here like this and leave a few spots for clouds. There should be. I want to have some dark behind this foggy areas here that are going to spew up. So I want to make sure I cover that so that at least you can be able to see. Okay. Doesn't take a whole lot to put a decent sky in. Especially when the paper's really nice and wet like this. And when I put the some more of that on, let's see here, that's going to come up that way. Yeah, this comes down. I'm going to put just a little more here like this. Okay. All right, so now I can come back and pick up a little bit of this gray color that I was working on, and I'll put a few things in there that help me sort of identify some clouds maybe. Get a little darkness in there, a little bit more, a little darker than that. When this paper's wet, the watercolors dry typically 20 to 30% lighter than you put them on, which is another challenge for watercolor painters, because you have to paint it darker than you think. If you try to match the color that's on the reference photo or whatever, you'll be too light usually. So I'm just popping in a few little things here with this gray color to help give me some texture and definition in these cloud areas up here. A little blue sky, a little gray clouds here and there. Okay. Oh, don't get too far away there. All right. Okay. I don't want to do a whole lot of messing around in the sky. I've told you that before. The more you mess around with it, the more you'll mess it up. It's usually hard to stop because you see things like, I want to put a little cloud here, I want to put a shadow there. I want to keep going after it, and that just kind of, it starts looking overworked, or certainly looking like you spent too much time in there. Put myself just I'm going to do what I'm cautioning you not to do, but in a couple places I know these areas need to have something going on. I don't want to have this thing with nothing going on in some of these areas. So I want to come back and pop in just a few other colors. Give myself a little bit of a darker in some areas. Maybe some over here a little bit. Because that paper's pretty wet, it's going to blend and blur and sort of make it look like more things going on up there, and it's going to be soft, which is what you want. You want a soft texture for clouds, because clouds appear soft. I rarely have a hard edge on clouds unless I'm trying to make a really dark blue sky stand out against some white clouds. Okay, so much for that big old brush. That was the medium brush. That's like a 1.5 inch wide brush, I think. I'm going to come back now and get my 1 inch flat, and I'm going to start coming into these mountains here, and we'll start putting in a little bit of some gray in these mountains. Bluish gray. I'm going to mix a little bit of my ultra blue and a little bit of my neutral tint, and we'll come in here and see. I think it really didn't get all that wet when I was there, so I'm going to I think I want some violet in there too. So I've got a little violet, a little neutral tint, and a little ultra blue here. So I'm using this big fat 1 inch brush, and I'm going to come in here and see if I can pop in some mountain tops here. It's got to be darker than the sky behind it. These some areas for snow running down back there. These things typically come down in a V, something like that. And they make makes it look like there's some snow up there. Add a little bit of my brown here. Okay, and so we'll kind of come in here and lighten some of that up, change some of the texture. We can even lift it up and make it look like there's some fog going on back there, which very likely would be in these areas. This is another area where you don't want to keep going back in and messing around. Get it in fresh, loose, fast, big brushes. Leave the little brushes alone and just let it stand out. This one next to it's going to have maybe a little more gray in it. I don't know, I'm painting out of my head here. I don't have any reason to make it gray versus brown or versus anything else. So I'll just put in some areas here that look like we got some more snow on these mountains. Change the color, make it darker than the one behind it, so that it looks like it's in front, which it is, because I said so. See, since this is my artistic license working here, I can tell you anything and maybe have you believe it. Sort of lighten that up a little bit. Okay, here. So we got a few areas that have some nice snow coming down, a couple of different values in there. Don't have to do a whole lot more than that. And let's change the color of this other part of the mountain over here that goes up this way. Just sort of make it very light over here. Something like that. Okay. So now I have, if I go back to my viewfinder and show you what that does, I've actually sort of given myself things going on in the sky up there that wasn't there in the photograph. This area here looks a little bland, plain, but I could come back and touch that sky up if I want. But then down here I start getting into these mountains and get a little snow on top, and the snow comes from just basically not painting anything there, just leaving it blank. As long as the sky behind it is dark enough for you to see the mountain here, it's not, I'm leery to go in there and start messing around. I'm afraid I'll make it worse. So I think I'll just hold on that. I say that as I go in there and start messing around. Okay, so there, that's that. Okay, so that was fairly quick. A couple of sets of mountains back there. They kind of have a little fogginess in there a little bit, you can see, and the top kind of disappears here in the sky and the clouds. All right, so the next layer is a layer of trees that really look kind of purplish and bluish to me, and it's on the photograph it's a nice straight line, which is not something we would want to portray. Okay, folks coming in. If you have any questions for me, folks, please type it in and I will try to answer you here if I can. See if this is dry enough here. I always try to use the back of my hand to test the wetness of the paper instead of the front. You have a lot of oils on the front of your fingers. Don't put your fingers on that paper. You'll start getting oil on it. So I usually test it with the back of my hand, which is another nice little trick I've learned. I'm going to get this purple going with a little bit of green. I'm going to pick up a little sap green over here and start getting a little bit of that greenish color, along with a little bit of the brown, reddish brown, and that's going to make a row of trees back here. Sort of put them in. They need to be darker than that. Why? you have to show that they get darker as they come forward. And if they're not darker, you won't be able to see them, or you'll be confused about whether they're part of the clouds or part of the mountain behind them. But let's just sort of, not crazy about this brush. Let me get a, let me try this flat, this 1/2 inch flat. I could do it with that big brush, but I'm gonna come in here and sort of use my smaller brush and sort of lay in some things back here that look like we got some trees going on. There's a whole raft of trees back here that sort of define this area, picking up different colors. So I can sort of use the pointed tips here to put in some definition at the top. This actually comes all the way down. There's a lot of these trees here. This kind of comes into the smoke that's rising over here. I want to leave some room for that. Come on the other side, same color over here. As I put that pillar of smoke in there, you'll be able to see why I'm painting around that right now. So just change the colors, change the value a little bit, get some darker values, lighter values, mix it up, because these are fairly dark back here. So let's just kind of lay it in back here. So that could be foggy back there too as well. Making just a few marks that indicate there's a lot of trees back there. Change it up, add some greens in there. We'll start picking up a few of the green color here as we come down. It's even foggy in this area. So I'm just sort of popping in, kind of not paying a whole lot of attention to the photograph, other than I want to try to get the things in the right place. Painting around another tree here. There's some green at the bottom of this. I'm going to pop in a few, just using a little sap green over what I have here is just sort of giving me another layer and another set of colors. I hope that's viewable, or see that. Put some green over here, start just sort of mixing it up, trying to have the greens and the darks and the blues and the purples, and have them all kind of overlap and show there's a lot of stuff going on back here. Tons of trees, tons of forest. What I am trying to do is keep it from being a flat line, but as you look at that on the camera, you can probably just see that's almost a flat line. So I'm going to want to put in a few things that sort of stick up a little bit. I'm using this 1/2 inch brush here to just sort of give myself some layers. As it starts to dry off a little bit, I can come back and go over it and still get a little bit of a fuzzy, soft edge at the top, but still has some definition of those trees. So there's just hundreds and maybe thousands of these pine trees out here. I'll take this and sort of run over it, maybe get a little more fogginess back there by just softening that lower edge again. So this down here is going to be, so I think it's, when I step back and look at it a little bit, it looks like I'm getting some nice variation, nice distinction, separation. So it may take me a while to do this. Hope you all don't fall asleep while I'm doing this. Now I want to start getting in some of this ground color in here. I'm just sort of popping in these things here to give myself paint it fairly quickly. I'm going to get myself pick up my number 8 brush. I'm going to pick up some of this ground color, which I'm going to use ochre and a little bit of my dark burnt sienna and ochre. And then I may use a little bit of this neutral tint as well, or I'm sorry, raw sienna, not neutral tint, raw sienna. So these colors, they start kind of coming in here in this area. You start seeing more land back here. I'm just going to bump it in there and pop it in between some of these things. Come back with my other brush now and just sort of lay into that, put in a few more things. I can sort of blend them together now that they're there. So let's see what that looks like. It's starting to look like it's a bunch of little trees standing back there, I think. A whole stand of trees. They just sort of run up this mountain back here. And by using this color, I can sort of paint the ground, paint the tree, paint them all together. Change that color a little bit. Don't spend too much time with one color. Trees get a little sparser over here on the far side. Let's see, we got trees, got more stuff down in here. Okay, so I'm going to just sort of lay that in and come back now and use my other brush and just sort of put in these trees that just sort of stand there and break up the ground. And we can use a little bit of clear water in some of those areas and sort of put in maybe a little fog in here even. Some of these areas by just lifting it out. I'm just put a clear water, dry brush, just sort of lift it out. So you can see a little of that fog just getting in the background there. Okay, back to my brush here with, there really wasn't any snow down in this area on the photograph, but I could leave some little white gaps in there that maybe look like there might be some snow peeking down some of this area. Who's to say? None of us were there. I'll put in a few more sparse trees here. Something like that. And then come back and pick up my earth tones here and sort of paint the bottoms in a little bit. It does actually come down those earth tones. Get some of this raw sienna. Okay, here we go. Put just a tad of yellow in there, brighten it up just a little. So I can kind of come down here and just sort of paint. All of this has sort of a brownish color to it. This is all greenish in here, and this is all, change these colors a little bit, leave some room for some more trees. I could leave some of that in there and make it look like snow. Who's to say there wouldn't be snow up there? We got snow in the mountains. It wasn't in the photograph, but I just use this brush really quickly, pull it fast over that rough or cold press, 300-pound cold press. You end up getting some nice rough edges. It just sort of skips over the paper. Okay, how are we doing here? Time, we've been going about 30 minutes, I guess. A few little lone stragglers out here. There's some trees that are floating around. Put a few more dark ones up there in the back here a little bit. I don't want to get that too dark back over there. I want you to kind of keep your focus in toward the center, but I'll throw in a few trees like that, kind of top off this here, and then sort of come down and randomly put in little spikes here that represent the trees that are sort of coming down the mountain, down this part of the mountain. Down here there's even more. Just using my sap green over the top of this earth color, which is raw sienna. Little bitty jobs here that sort of hit and miss. Don't have to have it all painted in, but down in this area they're probably thicker down here. At least they appear to be to me. Put a few more little clumps around. Little lone wolf standing out there in some areas. Yeah. Somebody's asking me, Nigel Reardon. Tower Bridge in England looks very dull and gray. Photos, how would you cope with something like that? You kind of do something like I've done here. I see a lot of English painters use raw sienna. Put a base coat of raw sienna under there, not completely covered, but you can something like if you take this raw sienna, I don't think I have raw sienna in my brush. Let me get some of that here. I'll show you very quickly. The raw sienna, many English painters use raw sienna as like an underpainting. And it puts some color and some life into the paper. And when you come back over that with some blues or grays, it doesn't turn to green. I may have a little bit too much in there, but so I would take something like this and probably using my paper towel, put a little color in it, put a little something to warm it up, something to cool it down, both. See, that's not turning a green, like if I put yellow there. This raw sienna, for some reason, does not it doesn't turn green. The mixture on my palette is not pure raw sienna. It's I have some ochre in it, and I have some of that burnt sienna. But a lot of times when I paint English countryside scenes, I'll put a swatch of that raw sienna on my paper, and then that gives me something nice, something to paint underneath. And you see it has a little blue cast to it, or green cast to it, but it also turns green or gray on you. You see that? So you can do something like that to liven up the sky in a painting if you have a dull gray sky. I used a little bit of blues and my browns here to lighten up my sky. It was basically a dull gray sky all the way across there, but you see I have indication of some clouds and some shadows under those clouds. So hope that helps you. take a little break and show you a little extracurricular information there. Yeah, skies can be about any color. You just don't want to have them to be really green. Although I've seen some painters have actually painted green skies. I think, I don't know, was it Monet? Somebody did it, not Monet. Maybe it was. I don't remember now. But skies are rarely green unless you see them in like an Alaskan where the sky turns all kinds of colors. You'll see green in Alaska, the Aurora Borealis it's called. You'll see a lot of colors in those skies. But also when you try to paint those, typically those come from something that's got a silhouette in them that makes them dark in the foreground, and I'll put some of the same color over here on this side of this. I'm painting around again now another one of these foggy areas that's coming up through the painting. So that's kind of our challenge today, is how do we paint fog and make it look sort of realistic in a painting like this, where it's really rising up here on the left side, and here it comes off of the water, down by the water. So I've left myself a lot of rough textures around here, a lot of areas that I can fill in with that white as I ran my test earlier. And so put a few more. I think there's a lot of trees in this area here. A lot of, actually there's green grass. There's you actually see the grass turning green on us down here. I don't necessarily have to do that, but let me put a little bit of that in. That sometimes this primary yellow helps to spark up a color here. A little bit different color, a little bit different green. I just popped in a little of primary yellow in with my sap green. So notice my brush strokes. I'm making these brush strokes go the way this land is coming down this way. So you want brush strokes to represent that. You want them to indicate what the land is doing here. That green is really pretty intense, probably more intense than I need or want. But we are getting into some evergreens now that are a bit lighter here. So I'm going to put in this as a base coat and come back and go over that with some trees in this area. A lot of trees in this area here, and then it starts getting down to the ground level that's down lower here. Let's see what happens here. Put a few, not quite good enough yet. So I'm mixing a little of this violet with my sap green, and I'm getting some interesting clumps of trees here. Different values, leaving a little bit of fuzziness at the bottom. And you see, because I have a lighter foggy area back here and a lighter green, all of a sudden you can see the tops of those trees. And that's the optical illusion that I'm creating to make you see that that's another layer. It's another painting layer over what's there. I see something here I want to fix right now before I get too far along or forget it. It's not dark enough back there, not plain enough. It's confusing a little bit where that mountain and this intersect. So let's put a few more darks in there. Okay, that helps. I'm sure I see it a lot, since I'm a lot closer to it, I see it a little differently than you might. But we'll just pop in a few of these trees here and getting close to what the photograph looks like. I'm not trying to actually reproduce that photograph. I'm trying to use it as a guide, and I'm trying to make it look very painterly. Photographs, digital photos anymore, they do such a number on the landscape when you photograph them. As a matter of fact, my teacher Johannes has an upcoming class where he's going to talk about painting from photographs. And he has a very good, I've listened to his lecture before. I've actually bought one of his series on painting from photographs. And it's really amazing and surprising how the eye is fooled by that, and how cameras actually fool you, because they really try to average everything out. They try to average everything out to sort of a gray color. And if you've ever taken something and put it over like a white, something like this, you'll see the colors look different than when I'm away, because this is a digital camera that's recording this, and it's basically trying to get an average reading with the pixel count it has to work with. You know, your eye has unlimited amounts of colors and things that it can see, but the camera doesn't. These digital cameras don't have unlimited amounts of colors. They're all restricted. They all have certain limitations. So the software that's in a digital camera does change what the camera sees and what comes out when you print it. Okay, so I'm getting a little bored with this. This is getting to be a little tedious. However, I think it's starting to look, see the dark over the light over the dark, gives you the impression that you've got a lot more trees laying out there. I got to bring those all the way down almost to here actually, so I might as well get going on that. We're starting to change our color here. It's got a little more red in it. I'm going to pick up a little more of this burnt sienna, start bringing it down here. In this area here, we're going to bring some of these down. Now that this is starting to change the direction again, I want these to come down where they start touching the background. Okay, so now I've got land coming this way. Now I'm showing land going this way. This land over here is going to go the same way. It's going to come down here like this. Got a tree here I'm painting around, but I'm still trying to give myself the look that the land is actually going down and to the right in this area, because it's going down to the creek here. Land over here is going down to the creek here. The creek starts right here and then zigzags back and forth. So I want to kind of keep that going where these things sort of come together here. We got a number of areas that just sort of merge together. There's a lot of white highlights on that it's in the photograph. I may leave those just to for the effect of it. May paint some of them out too. Sometimes those little white spots get to be too annoying if you get too many of them in there. But this is really the land now coming down here. We've got some green, we've got those browns, we've got that earth tones. I'm just sort of mixing it up a little bit here. There's a big tree that kind of sits right there. And we've got earth around it. It's almost too dark. Let's kind of blur that together. So I'm just using a 1/2-inch brush for almost all of this here so far. Taking a little longer than if I'd used a great big 1-inch brush or something, but I can also get into smaller places and get a lot of nice little textures here that sometimes you can't get with those big brushes. So this is more land that's going up on the other side of this tree here. So I'll just flick it in. I think that's the start of my creek back there. Yes. Start putting a little fog in there. How do you put fog in? I'm just lifting up, picking the paint up, wetting my brush, drying it off, and just sort of picking up the paint that's there. And it gives you a nice little foggy look. going to be a little different than I do the fog over here. This I want to have some of this base color in there. Later on I want it to be just sort of a grayish color, almost like a cloud or something. Let's see here, we got a lot of land coming down here. That's my tree. Okay. So I hope the brush strokes are telling you which direction the land is moving. That's the idea. Tree in here I'm going to paint around. In these two colors I'm using sort of this purplish color or violet color and mixing it with my earth tones, and those are nice contrasting colors. They're opposite each other on the color wheel, and they give you some very nice contrast. Throw some green in there. We do have a little bit of green here, not too much. Bottom of this tree. So I'm just changing the color about every couple inches or so. And this is where it starts. Right here is where this is really not quite the horizon line. The horizon line is actually back here. This is a little bit in front of the horizon line. But I want to just sort of base coat that in, pop in a few more shadows and block it in. Okay. Then as we move down here, we start getting into more of the reddish color of burnt sienna over here. And we got a big tree here I've got to paint. I've got the bank of the water here, goes back this way. So this is all water behind you. I've got a big tree right in there. So this gets redder as it comes forward. Got a big tree right there I'm going to paint around. So the red I'm getting is out of my burnt sienna. So the strokes here are going horizontally, like this. Because we're getting to the land that's like flat in front of us, then there's a little bit of an angle here. These are all sort of angling in. See if I can make sure I got that a little more distinct for you. So I'm trying to make anything I do to put in some marks in here. I want to create sort of abstract shapes if I can. I don't want it to just be all one bland, boring color. Okay. How are we doing back here on the other side of this tree is more of this similar stuff here. Over here we've got more of this. It's on the edge of the water. There's more water back there, but this sort of comes down and goes out like that. Pick it up, put a little more in there. Not quite as much red, but put in some. Purple is too strong. Back off here. Put in another. It comes down. There's areas here that actually have some rocks in them along this bank, and I could paint around them, or I could go in there and try to lift some of it out. Got some areas I'm going to paint this around this tree. I'm going to have this tree here that's going to come out there. See what happens here if I just sort of lift down a couple areas, and I'll come back and put a little shadow under those. Kind of leaves me a rock or two there. This area back here has got more of the same, except it's coming the other way now. It's kind of coming down. I'll pick up a little ochre, maybe change the color a little bit. Over here. It's not very ochre-y. So I'm sort of building in this idea that we've got things coming down on both sides, and they're sort of meeting at the creek bed, which is what you would see if you were in an area like this. They all sort of come down and just sort of run the water into the creek. And just over here like this. Okay, so and now the water is going to start like right here. And see here, put a few distinguishing colors in here, values, to sort of make sure you see that distinction. One's behind the other, so I want to make sure that there's a difference in value. If I leave them the same value, I'll be confusing you. Don't want to do that. All right. It's looking pretty good so far. How much time have we gone? 50 minutes about? Thereabouts. I'm going to color some of this in. It's almost a little bit too bright back there. There we go. That's a little better. A few more places here. I've got some areas here that I can actually maybe define a little better. Putting in a couple different values. Sort of break it up so that it's you can see there's more rockiness in there than you might have to start with. Okay, we do have some bigger trees here. I don't know if I can do that with this. Let me change brushes. Overworking that little half-inch flat. I'm going to pick up my number 8 round here. See if I can put in a couple of pine trees here. It may not work. I may have to go back to that flat, but let's see if we can put in a few little trees here that are darker and have some nice little things going on here. A couple of trees, not too much. There's really about 4 or 5 back there. I'm just using almost pure sap green. We'll put a little blue in it to get some other values. So you can run these together. We don't want them to be standing out there like little Indians, not here. So I'll put a few more things here like this. And even maybe some back here. I'll throw in a few little dark things back here like that. Okay, now I want that to show a little fogginess too. So what do? I wash out my brush, get it wet, and just sort of lift up here in the bottom. Soft edge, pull up like that. I don't know if you can see that well or not, but that's what I'm doing. Dry brush, pick up, and if there's enough water in the brush, you'll actually loosen that paint and you can actually pick it up. So we're going to have some more of that over here. This is where there's a lot of fogginess coming out back in here that I'll be picking up in a minute. But I'll come back and wet that, let it set for a few seconds, and use my paper towel to come in there and just sort of lift it up. And all of a sudden I'm getting a little fogginess right there. Okay, now we've got a few trees coming down here. Oh, in this area there's a few. I'm going to just pop in a few. I'm going to go back to my flat brush. I think it's maybe a little better for that. Some of that, a little blue, and just sort of pop in a few of these little jobs here to show there's a little more. Some more little trees in here, a couple little clumps here and there. Some in here that are going to be foggy, because I'm going to make them foggy. All right. So just by rubbing over, as long as you put it in, you get a little stain on there with that paint. Sap green is not an overly staining paint, but by popping in some things like that, you can actually get some things that look like they're foggy. And see over here, I'm going to just sort of connect this together here with this area here. I'm going to have to start putting in that fog up above, but I want to get that base color in there as well. Okay, that's good enough. Now I've got a foggy area here. I've got a big old tree here, and I think for that big tree, come back and get my bigger brush, my 1-inch brush, and pick up a little of this red and mix in with that green to give myself a grayish color. That tree has actually got some, if that's dark enough, probably not. Okay, so I'm just sort of now putting in this big tree, mixture of my sap green and my violet, and I'm going to try to make both sides look slightly different. I don't want it to be totally symmetrical, even though these trees are symmetrical and I look at them pretty much symmetrical. Coming down, this thing goes all the way down here. Put in some other colors. So I'm staying away from the other side of my painting over here that's under the palette. Put this big tree, let's get this guy in some more here. Let's put in a, he really goes all the way down to here. Keep those two colors going, maybe pop in a little red to change the color. So you can sort of give yourself some really nice edges that look like pine trees by using this dry brush technique. Because that paper's dry underneath there, I'm able to get some interesting shapes. I need a little more water in some of these areas. Okay, so I'm getting this interesting shaped tree in here. Hopefully it's interesting. See if I got the right amount of, come in here and put a little bit of a scrape out of the trunk. If you put that in too soon, it'll run back on you and fill back in. But if you put it in at the right time, it will turn into a light. Got this big trunk down here. And get some more browns in here. So I'll just hit it a few places, make it darker in some places, make it lighter in some places, and you can see that that's all one big happy tree. So just sort of put some nice little things that have dry brush on them. It's almost symmetrical. It's hard to get away from it when you've got one lone tree here. You don't want to make it so odd shaped that people aren't sure what it is. But I think I'll leave it maybe at that, not mess around with it too much more. Down here in the bottom I want to sort of blend this base down here. I got to get some more of my earth tone. Where'd it go? running out of place in my palette here. This area I want to have some shadow here that's going to be sort of underneath it like this. It's probably a little bit too much, but I want it to be an abstract shape. I don't want it to be... Okay, over here there might be a few other little shadows and some things sitting up here. The tree may be casting some other shadows. Something like that. Make this a little more distinct. This break here. Okay, so it's not too bad. You can also scrape out some paint with your brush here if you have one of these angled plastic tips. You can actually scrape out with that. Okay, some rocks. Got a few more trees. There's another couple larger trees in here. Maybe I'll just hint at those instead of putting a lot of them in. There's a big tree here that sort of actually goes as high as or even higher than this one that I just painted. So I'm going to put him in here, kind of cover up what I've got there. Darker paint over the top of it will make it stand out over what's there. And I'm going to run him down into, he's going to come down right about there. Really dark. You got to be dark in what's beneath it. So I'll just pop that in and lay that to the ground right here. Put in a few things there. So we're getting some interesting things in here. There's a few other dark ones in here. I'll just pop in a few little more different angles here, smaller ones like that. So it's just kind of changing up the values. So I have some really dark trees in here in some areas. I think I just went over my area that I left for fog there, but there's several. As we get down here, even there's some trees that sort of lay in this area here. I'm kind of making this up. I'm kind of making it look pleasing to me now, with different sizes of trees, different widths, different amounts of room between them. We even have a big old sort of a tree that sort of sticks out like this, kind of goes up. It's like a tree that's kind of falling over. It's got some dead branches on it. Put a few little things there like this. It's kind of fallen away. And what else? We might put another one or two back here. There were some other little ones that sort of join this one back here. Okay, so I've got something that kind of looks like a valley because I have different depths of these trees, or they come down different levels. Got another tree right in here. Might as well get him in there while I'm painting left to right for you. Same colors. I got this ultra, and I got my blue, and a little bit of green in there. But I'm mostly, because I want it really dark, I'm using mostly this ultra blue and my ultra violet. Okay. This guy comes way down here, something like this in here. So make that tree even a little bigger, maybe with that big a trunk on it. So I'm trying to get some soft edges on this tree. Put some greens in there. Yeah, and he's anchored into the bank here, done. Okay. Back to the bank. Turned out to be a lot more objects in this tree or in this painting than I initially thought, because I thought it was going to go very fast, but it's taken a little bit more time than I thought, which is okay. If you guys have the time, I have the time. Glad you're all staying with me. There's another. So, where's my knife? Okay, so let's see if I can put a little bit of a scrape in there like that. Gives me just a little bit of a trunk sitting in there. This is on a bank right in here. There's a couple rocks down the bottom. Getting over to my fog again over here now on the right. It's coming up. And I got just some things over there like that. Okay. So I haven't painted the stream yet, but you can almost start to see it back here. I've got so much garbage in this palette. Let me take a little bit of this color out of here. I don't want to get to mud. Okay. Come back and get some of these browns, get some cleaner browns. More earth tones than browns, I guess. Down here at the bottom, I've got some rocks. Maybe some darker rocks here. I'll pick up a little my burnt umber. And darken it up here on the bottom. Okay, it looks a little bit like rocks over there, hopefully. That's the idea. I keep checking my monitor behind me to make sure I'm not painting an area where I have my palette going out to the streaming video. Okay, something like that. That's probably good enough. I don't want to make it all that interesting in there, but so now I'm starting to create my stream here. Let me move my palette for the people watching me live. I'm going to start painting in this area now, and start getting a few of these. I've got a whole bunch of, it's fog, fog, fog. This is all around over here. I'm back to my 1/2-inch brush again. I get stuck on it. Love it. So I've got some area coming out here that's bottom of a stream. Comes out here like that. Got a few rocky areas here. I'm going to go back in here. Yeah, so I can make it just a little darker as we come forward here. This is out of the fog. This is going to be all fog in here. So they're just grass and rocks and all kind of stuff here that's just sort of laying around. I do have another inset back here I've got to paint in. I do have a little bit of this in here that's sort of soft and okay, and I'm just going to soften the edges around that so that it blends with my fog when I put it in over here. Get my fog machine out after a bit. We'll put in some fog. All right. Maybe some darker brown here in some areas. I'm hardly looking at the photo. I'm just kind of making sure I've got things placed about where they are in the photograph here. This is another little area that sort of sticks out. We got some water back in there. So you can see the stream coming to life. And I haven't painted the stream. Using pretty much the same colors. I haven't really polluted my palette with too many extra colors. That's a little bit wrong for that area. I want to get some more of this earth tones here. Along here, yeah, there we go. These are dark areas. Lighten it up a little bit. Pull it together up here. So just kind of finish it off over there. Okay, so now you can see the stream taking shape. I'm going to step back and look at this. I haven't done that yet today. I like the way it's looking. What would I change? Well, not too much right now. I'm going to just keep going. I think I'm going to put the rest of this foreground in down here. I'm going to get my bigger brush and stop fooling around here with it. This area here, I'm going to just pop in some pick up some of my reddish browns. Too much red maybe, but we'll just sort of blend it out. Okay, something like that. Pop it up just a little bit so you can see the final. There we go. Have to keep checking my outgoing video stream to make sure what you're seeing. I'm going to pop in just a few more darks in here. Maybe a few more over here to sort of close this corner in. Tie it together with an abstract shape in there. All right. I can come back and put some more junk in there if I want to put something lively in there, but right now I'm going to leave it the way it is. All right, my water, my fog. I'm just getting really close to getting to that fog here, folks. Put just a little more color in some of this back here. I think it was almost too much white. Okay, so you can see my pillars of fog, I hope. So now how are we going to do the fog? Well, the way I want to do it is I'm going to wet it. First, clear water. Start over here and we'll just put in some clear water inside this. I'm leaving about 1/8 of an inch or so around the perimeter. I'm going to have it all wet on the inside. May even wet some of it here along the perimeter because I want it to blend and overlap with what's there. So this is all just a big fog rising up from the ground. Clear water. Okay, now I'm going to get my neutral tint and just very lightly come in here and put in some cloud shadows almost. Be like I was painting the clouds. Just a little bit of that goes a long way. I see it looks like it might be a little too dark, and maybe it is, but maybe it's going to be about right by the time it dries off. Over here, it's a little more. How nice and soft that looks. See if I can just sort of blend it a little bit with my finger. Might work. Sort of soften it into here. Try to loosen up some of that paint that's there and sort of merge it together a little bit maybe. Yeah, it's looking kind of interesting. Soften that edge up, come along and just sort of blend them together like that. That's looking a little better. This area over here, I'm going to soften this edge up and come in and sort of blend the colors together. You start getting that look that it's not glued on, but it's actually kind of connected to the landscape here. A bit more up here. Just using the paper towel and just sort of swirling it in, swirling it together, and I start getting that nice foggy look. See, what I'm doing is I'm getting rid of hard edges here. You see, that's kind of a hard edge. And if you have too many hard edges like that, it looks like I glued that fog on, which is not what I want you to think. That's not the optical illusion I'm trying for here. Okay, not too bad. Pick up my flat here while I got my palette on the other side. I'm going to come in and pop in some really dark browns in here, sort of highlight the water. Make sure I have a bank here that you can see. Okay. Hello from Germany, Janice, Klaus Dieter, welcome. Wie geht's? Okay, that's better. Now we can see that more distinct. Okay, see how that dark edge just makes that pop? Where did I get my brown from? Here we go. So I'm really telling you where the edge of this bank is all along here by just popping in these little hints. Over here there's a little hint for the bank. And I'm only putting it on the side you can see from this edge, right? Okay, so I think I've got one more area to fog in. Let me see if I can move my palette over there for you guys watching live. Hello from Naples, Victoria. Wow, welcome. I'm not sure. I'm not sure the Italian word. Is it buongiorno for hello? Oh, I know Germany is guten Tag. All right, just a little bit now of my neutral tint. And we'll just see if we can pop in a few of these things here to make it look like it's rising from the ground. So I'm putting this in the middle, and then I'm going to come back and soften those edges again, and kind of making vertical clouds here in this case. But because these edges here are hard, it looks like I've kind of glued that on. So I'll give that a second. I want to come back and do the same thing that I did on the other side, and that's wet this edge here and here. Let that set for a second or two. Yeah, Victoria, if you missed the beginning, this is being recorded. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 cameras recording what I'm doing. So after the video, this will be recorded on YouTube, and you can watch the stream if you want. If you want to wait for a better edited version, you can pick up. I will be posting this probably in 2 or 3 days. I'll be putting it up there. Edited version that's maybe a little better than what the stream is, because I take out some of the extraneous parts and give you a new version. So paper towel's getting all messy. Okay. Okay, so I'm just sort of softening these edges here with this paper towel. Hopefully that looks like it's a stream of fog going up. I'll put a little more definition in some of these areas here. That was the challenge. I wanted to see if we could do that today and make it look like we actually got some fog going on. I've got my brush here. I'm going to, got this flat brush. I'm going to put another tree or two in here that sort of overlap the fog, if you will. When I look at this, I see some areas that actually have, I still have areas that look like I glued some trees on over here. All those, see those bottoms? Whoops, you can't see it very well if I got the palette over there. Whoops. All the bottoms here look like they've just been stuck on. So how do you fix something like that? Well, you can kind of come in and put in some shadows under them. You can put in just something to soften the edge, the bottom edge, and then put in some of your ground color or even some of the tree color. So they sort of look like they're hooked into the ground a little bit. Over here maybe. I should have done that while I was painting over there. Let's see, put this palette back on and move it over there. All right. So all of these areas here could use a little bit of attention. Just because I don't want it to look amateurish. I don't want to look like I didn't know what I was doing here. Sometimes it's easy to forget and just stick things like this on, and all of a sudden you've got something that looks kind of amateurish. So now they don't look like there's not as much of a hard edge at the bottom, and there's a little bit of a value in this color below it. And it makes it look like they're more part of the landscape instead of glued on. Up here, even up here I did it, so. So it just helps add more texture and more beauty to it, I think. Even those little white specks in there, I think they kind of hint that there's some snow out there. Put a few more things like that. What else can I do here? Just maybe a few spots over in here that could use a little bit of maybe definition a little better. Put a few darks in here to sort of indicate we've got something else going on. Some dark. So it doesn't look quite as bland as it did. I'm going to put myself but see, what I'm doing is I'm making abstract shapes in here, and I'm pointing the brush so that you know that land is going down this way. It's going down to the river. Something like that. They're flatter here because this is the area that's going down to the river there. All right. I really think I kind of like the way this is looking, folks. A few more darks over here, maybe. Usually, most watercolor painters never put enough darks in their painting. I've never been to a workshop where when I show my painting to the artist when I'm finished, he says, make it darker. Put some darks in there. So you want to have these strong darks sticking out, and you want to try to connect them together if you can, in a way that makes them makes the dark shapes sort of flow through your entire painting. If you can do that. Step back here and look at this again. Okay, I think this is still too hard of an edge. I actually see the pencil mark coming through there. I'm going to take this and put some more clear water on it and just touch it up a little bit. See if I can blend it just a little more, maybe. I don't know. May not work. Put a few more. A little bit of my gray in here. This one's hard because it's almost the same value as the sky, and because it's the same value as the sky, it doesn't stand out quite as well. So let me see if I can sort of blend that all together there. It's a little better. I don't think you can quite see the pencil mark. I should have erased that pencil mark a little better there. Okay, got good fog there. I like this idea of having some more fog in here, like maybe right in here in this area. Whoops. Right in here, I'm going to put in a little fog. I'm going to do that by wetting it and then trying to lift out some of that paint. Pushing hard and lifting up. Will give me a, yeah, that's a little better, maybe. Looks like a little fogness back there. Okay, I just got a couple more things I'm going to pop in here. I got a couple of rocks or things that belong in here, like this in the water. A couple little rocky things. And I think we'll be about done. That gives a little bit of a indication there that there's a couple of rocks sitting out there. And the rest of it, I really don't have to paint this water. I could put just a few areas with a little bit of tone in it to sort of give it that you see that it is something besides just clear paper. I'm just taking this dry brushing it in here. Move the brush fast. Just a little tone, very, very, very light tone. Through here. Not much of a tone at all. But if you put any tone in at all, you want to make it a little darker as you come forward. It'll be lighter in the back, a little darker in the foreground. Something like that, just sort of blend it off over here. All right, I think I'm running myself over time here. All right, that would about have to be good enough. I can pick up just a few. I've got my big old brush that's got a little ochre in it, this bristle brush, and I'm just going to pop in a few little things along the edge here to kind of help let you see that there's some other stuff going on here, like that. I think that sort of helps finish it off just a little bit. If you flick it up over the water, it kind of makes that look like it's a bank on this side of the water. What else do I need to do? I think that's probably plenty. Over here, let me get my script liner out here and get me some nice water. Oh, somebody from Montreal, Canada too. Wow, we've got an international collaboration here today, folks. So many of you watching from all over the world. Italy, Germany, Canada. Wonderful. I'm going to block print my name. It's going to have to be darker than that. I want you to, would like for you to see it. All right. Put a few little marks in here to sort of indicate that. I like a few little things over here that were a little longer. Something like that. A few little flicks here and there. All right, folks. I I really appreciate you all being here today. We had quite a few attend today. And like I say, if you didn't get in on the beginning of this, didn't get to see it all, it's being recorded by YouTube. You can replay it from YouTube, but I also will be editing this and putting up another version of it in probably a couple days. So I really hope you like this painting. I call this Cool Morning, and it's indicative of a cool morning in the out west in the Montana area, where you would see these kinds of streams and this type of day. So I hope you really like it. Hope you check out my website, check out my Facebook page, and remember, I paint live every third Wednesday, oils, and every fourth Wednesday I paint watercolors. So if you'd like to keep joining me, keep tuning in, just put that on your calendar. And unless I have a medical emergency or some other family issue, I will plan to be painting every Wednesday and third Wednesday and fourth Wednesday of every month. And I have it in my plans and my calendar. And so I think that's all I want to talk to you about. Until I see you again, this is Larry Hamilton saying so long for now. Thanks for watching. Okay.